At 9:12 on a Saturday morning, the security app on my phone sent me an alert. Motion detected at the front gate. I opened the live camera feed and saw my mother-in-law's silver car waiting beneath the stone arch of Blackwood Estate. A moving van was parked behind it. A second van pulled up less than a minute later. Lorraine stepped out wearing a cream coat, dark glasses, and the expression of someone arriving for an appointment everyone else had forgotten. She did not knock. She did not call. She pointed toward the vans and began assigning rooms. The large wardrobe goes into the eastern bedroom, she told one mover. Be careful with the framed photographs, they are family originals. The man glanced toward the house. Are the owners expecting us? Lorraine lifted an old brass key between two fingers. I am the owner. From 3 hours away, I watched her climb the front steps. She pushed the key into the lock. It entered, but it did not turn. Lorraine tried again. Then she pulled the key out, wiped it against her sleeve, and forced it back into the door as though the lock had personally insulted her. The movers exchanged a look. Lorraine walked to the side entrance. That key failed too. Only then did she notice the new keypad beside the door, the unfamiliar vehicles in the courtyard, and the white board beside the drive. Property sold. For a few seconds she did not move. Then the front door opened. Victor Hale stepped outside carrying a folder and speaking to an architect. Lorraine froze. Victor was the one person in town she could not flatter, frighten, or control. He looked toward the vans, then toward her boxes. Can I help you? Lorraine did not answer him. She reached for her phone. Ethan's phone rang first. He let it ring until the screen went dark. Mine rang a moment later. I answered on the 6th call. Lorraine's voice was low and shaking. Why is Victor Hale standing inside my mother's house? I looked across the breakfast table at Ethan. His face was pale, but he gave me a small nod. Because he owns it now. There was silence on the line. Then Lorraine said very slowly, Tell me you did not sell Blackwood Estate to that man. I sold it legally, privately, and completely. You knew what this would do to me. No, I said, you knew what keeping that house was doing to us. Her calm disappeared. She shouted that the sale was impossible. She threatened lawyers, injunctions, and public scandal. She ordered me to reverse documents that had already been signed and money that had already cleared. Then Victor's voice came through the phone from somewhere near her. Lorraine, the movers are blocking the drive. That was when she screamed. But the sale had not started as revenge. It started with a will, a handwritten letter, and a woman who believed that calling herself the family matriarch gave her the right to take whatever she wanted. To understand why I finally sold Blackwood Estate to the man Lorraine hated most, we have to go back almost 6 months. 4 days after Margaret Blackwood's funeral, more than 30 relatives gathered inside Blackwood Estate for a private meeting with the family lawyer. The scent of white lilies still lingered in the dining room. Black coats rested across the backs of antique chairs. Untouched plates of food covered a long table beneath the crystal chandelier. Some relatives were genuinely grieving. Others kept glancing at the paintings, silverware, and furniture, as though they were silently estimating how much each piece might be worth. My husband stood beside me, with one hand resting gently against my back. At the head of the table sat his mother, Lorraine Blackwood. Lorraine wore black from her shoes to the small hat pinned above her perfectly styled silver blonde hair. Her posture was straight. Her expression was controlled. She did not look like a daughter mourning her mother. She looked like a queen waiting to be crowned. Before the lawyer could open the documents in front of him, Lorraine raised a spoon and tapped it against her glass. The room fell silent. I know this has been an emotional week, she began, but I want everyone to understand that Blackwood Estate will remain exactly as it has always been. Several relatives nodded. Lorraine slowly looked around the room, making sure every eye was on her. As the new matriarch of this family, I will personally ensure that our legacy is protected. Ethan's hand became tense against my back. I leaned toward him. Did Margaret leave her the estate? I don't know, he whispered. Lorraine smiled as though everything had already been decided. The family lawyer removed his glasses. Mrs. Blackwood, perhaps it would be best if I read Margaret's instructions before anyone makes an announcement. Lorraine turned toward him. It was not an announcement, it was a statement of fact. The lawyer did not argue. He opened the folder and began reading. Margaret left jewelry to 2 granddaughters. She left Ethan a financial account. Several close friends received handwritten letters and small gifts. Lorraine was given a collection of clothing, family photographs, silver pieces, and a monthly payment from a separate trust. Lorraine remained perfectly calm. She was waiting for the estate. Then the lawyer turned to the final section. The property known as Blackwood Estate, including the main residence, surrounding 14 acres, gardens, outbuildings, and all contents named in the attached inventory, shall pass solely and completely to Rachel Blackwood. For several seconds, I did not understand what he had said. Then every face in the room turned toward me. Ethan looked at me as though he had forgotten how to speak. Lorraine laughed. It was one short, sharp sound from someone certain that an embarrassing mistake had been made. "I'm sorry," she said. "Who?" The lawyer looked directly at me. "Rachel." My hands became cold. There must be a mistake. There is no mistake. I had known Margaret wanted to leave me something. Perhaps her writing desk. Maybe the bracelet she occasionally allowed me to wear. But I had never imagined she would leave me Blackwood Estate. The property had belonged to Ethan's family for almost 90 years. It had 6 bedrooms, a ballroom, a library, and a wraparound porch overlooking a large rose garden. The Blackwoods had held weddings there. They hosted Christmas dinners beneath the chandelier. Almost every important family photograph had been taken somewhere on those grounds. Lorraine slowly rose from her chair. My mother would never leave our family estate to an outsider. That word hurt more than I expected. Outsider. I had been married to Ethan for 11 years. I had hosted family dinners. I had attended birthdays, weddings, funerals, and charity events. I had helped Lorraine after 2 surgeries. And during the final 14 months of Margaret's life, I had become her primary caregiver. I drove her to medical appointments. I organized her medication. I cooked her meals when she could no longer stand for long periods. When she became frightened at night, I slept in the room beside hers. Lorraine visited occasionally. She always arrived perfectly dressed, stayed long enough to take a few photographs, and left before Margaret needed anything difficult. Lorraine said sickness overwhelmed her. Hospitals made her anxious. She could not bear to see her mother in pain. But now that Margaret was gone, Lorraine wanted everything her mother had owned. The lawyer closed one section of the will. Margaret's instructions are extremely clear. "No," Lorraine said, "Rachel manipulated her." "Mom," Ethan interrupted. "Stay out of this. Rachel only found out a few seconds ago." Lorraine pointed toward me. "She knew. I didn't. You expect this family to believe that. It's the truth." The lawyer reached into his folder. Margaret anticipated that her decision might be questioned. He removed a handwritten letter and passed it to me. My fingers trembled as I opened it. "Rachel." A house can carry a family name without ever feeling like a home. During my illness, many people said they loved me. You were the person who showed me. You gave me your time without asking what you would receive in return. Lorraine believes blood gives a person ownership over everything that came before. I believe kindness is a far greater inheritance. Blackwood Estate is yours. Keep it, change it, or sell it. Do whatever allows you to live in peace. Do not let anyone turn my love into a debt. Margaret. By the time I reached the final line, tears blurred the page. For one moment, I forgot about everyone else in the room. I could see Margaret sitting on the porch, wrapped in her blue blanket, asking whether the roses would survive another winter. Then Lorraine snatched the letter from my hand. She read it quickly. Her expression became colder with every line. When she finished, she dropped it onto the table. My mother was confused. 2 doctors confirmed that she was mentally competent, the lawyer answered. She was dying. She updated the will 8 months ago. She was being influenced. Margaret met with me privately. Rachel was not present when the will was discussed or signed. Lorraine looked around the room. She needed the family watching her. This estate belongs to the Blackwoods. The lawyer's voice remained calm. Legally, it belongs to Rachel. The documents settled the ownership. They did nothing to settle Lorraine. The first phone call came the following morning at 7:15. Lorraine did not ask how I was feeling. She did not mention Margaret. She went directly to the estate. I have spoken with several members of the family, she said. The cleanest solution is for you to transfer the property to me. I sat upright in bed. I'm not transferring anything. You do not understand what you have inherited. I understand that Margaret left me her home. Our family home. It legally belongs to me. Lorraine became quiet. Authority had failed. So she moved to guilt. You are going to erase 90 years of family history because you are angry with me. I haven't erased anything. You are keeping a grieving daughter away from her family estate. You have no legal right to live there. Ethan's memories are inside that house. Ethan is welcome there. As though my son needs your permission. He doesn't, but you do. Her voice became sharp. You will not speak to me that way. I am ending this call. You will sign the estate over to me. No, you are destroying this family. The will was read yesterday. And you have already become greedy. I ended the call. Less than 5 minutes later, Ethan's phone began ringing. He opened his eyes, looked at the screen and sighed. Don't answer, I said. If I don't, she'll keep calling. He accepted the call. Lorraine's voice was so loud that I could hear almost every word. She said I had humiliated her. She said I had secretly turned Margaret against her. She said the family expected Ethan to correct his wife. Then she asked him a question that revealed exactly how she saw our marriage. Are you my son or are you her husband? Ethan looked at me. He did not answer. Lorraine treated his silence like surrender. That's what I thought. She disconnected. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed. I'm sorry. For what? For her. I wanted his apology to comfort me. Instead, it made me feel alone. Ethan had spent his entire life apologizing for Lorraine. But his apologies had never required her to change. Within days, relatives began contacting me. An aunt sent a long email about protecting the Blackwood legacy. Ethan's cousin suggested placing the property into a family trust controlled by Lorraine. A relative I had met only twice accused me of influencing a dying woman. Lorraine created a private family group chat and posted photographs of Blackwood Estate from weddings and Christmas dinners. Under one picture she wrote, "Our history is being stolen." Under another, "If Rachel truly loved this family, she would return what belongs to us." People responded with angry messages and broken heart emojis. One cousin wrote that women who married into wealthy families always revealed their true intentions when money became involved. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to remind them that none of them had been there when Margaret was too weak to walk. None of them had cleaned her room after she became sick. None of them had stayed awake beside her when she was afraid she would not survive the night. But the family had already chosen the version that asked the least of them. 1 week later, Lorraine arrived at Blackwood Estate with 2 moving trucks. I stood on the porch and watched 4 workers climb out. Lorraine stepped from her car wearing sunglasses and holding a clipboard. "What is this?" "I am collecting the belongings my mother left me. The items listed in the will would fit in 1 car. There are additional family pieces that need to be protected." "No." She removed her sunglasses. "I was not asking. You can take what belongs to you, nothing else." Her mouth tightened. "This house is filled with Blackwood property. This house is now my property. You are enjoying this." "Enjoying what?" "Having power over me." That was when I finally understood something about Lorraine. She believed everyone thought the way she did. To her, every conversation involved a winner and a loser. Every gift created a debt. Every relationship was about control. "I don't want power over you," I told her. "I want you to leave." She stepped closer. "You are living in a fantasy if you think a signature makes you a Blackwood." "I don't want to be you, Lorraine." For the first time, she had no immediate answer. I called the family lawyer. He reminded Lorraine that she could remove only the possessions specifically named in the will. 40 minutes later, she left with 3 boxes, several photographs, and a silver tea set. The moving trucks followed her out completely empty. I believed the humiliation might stop her. Instead, it made her more dangerous. The following morning, I found a locksmith measuring the front door. Lorraine had told him she owned the estate and had lost her key. I sent him away. 2 days later, a furniture company attempted to deliver a complete bedroom suite. The order was addressed to Lorraine Blackwood at Blackwood Estate. The following day, dining chairs arrived. Then curtains. Then kitchen supplies. Then a mattress. Lorraine was trying to establish residence 1 delivery at a time. I returned everything. Ethan called her while I stood beside him. "Mom, stop sending furniture to the estate. It is where I will be living." "No, it is. My mother wanted me there. Grandma left the estate to Rachel. She made a mistake. The court will not care whether you agree with her." Lorraine became silent. Then she aimed directly at Ethan's oldest wound. A man who allows his wife to steal from his mother is not much of a son. Ethan's face changed. Lorraine continued. "And a husband who cannot control his wife is not much of a husband." I waited for him to defend me. Instead, he lowered his eyes. "Mom, please." That single word told Lorraine she was still in control. After the call, I looked at Ethan. "Do you agree with her?" "No." "Then why didn't you say that?" "She knows how to push me." "And you let her?" "She's my mother." "And I'm your wife." "I know. I need more than that." He looked exhausted. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to stop treating her behavior like bad weather. She is making choices. She is attacking me because she believes you will never stop her." "You think this is easy for me?" "No, I think it has been easier for you to let me handle it." That hurt him. I could see it. But it was true. Lorraine was attacking me, and Ethan was standing between us, hoping one of us would eventually surrender. I refused to be that person. 3 days later, I returned from the grocery store and found Lorraine's car in the driveway. The front door was open. I had never given her a key. I entered quietly and heard voices upstairs. When I reached Margaret's bedroom, I stopped. Lorraine stood beside the wardrobe. Ethan's aunt and cousin were placing Margaret's clothes into boxes. The blue blanket Margaret had used during her final weeks had been thrown onto the floor. "What are you doing?" The cousin froze. Ethan's aunt looked away. Lorraine continued folding a sweater. "These things belong with the family. Put them back. They belonged to my mother. They now belong to the estate. I am her daughter, and I am the legal owner of this house." She threw the sweater into a box. "You have no right to speak to me like this. You entered without permission. I used my mother's key. Give it to me." "No." I pulled out my phones. Lorraine laughed. "What are you going to do? Call the police on a grieving daughter?" "Yes." The laughter disappeared. Her relatives began backing away from the boxes. Lorraine walked toward me until only a few inches separated us. "You will regret humiliating me. You broke into my home. This is my family's home. Margaret is gone, Lorraine. The house does not belong to you." For a moment, real grief appeared on her face. Then anger covered it again. "You think she loved you more than me?" "No," I said. "I think she trusted me more than you." Lorraine raised one hand slightly. For a second, I thought she might slap me. Instead, she pointed toward the boxes. "This is not over." "You're right." I lifted my phone. "The police are on their way." She left before they arrived. That evening, Lorraine told the family that I had threatened to arrest a grieving daughter for entering her family home. By the following morning, someone had thrown red paint across the front gate. A note had been placed beneath my windshield wiper. "Give back what you stole." I changed every lock. I installed security cameras. I stopped sleeping properly. Every unfamiliar car made my heart race. Every sound outside forced me to check the windows. Then Lorraine challenged the will in court. Her lawyer claimed Margaret had lacked mental capacity. He also claimed I had isolated her from the family and influenced her decisions. None of it was true. But lies do not need to be believable to become exhausting. For months, my life became legal meetings, family accusations, and sleepless nights. My lawyer, Naomi Reed, reviewed Margaret's medical records, witness statements, and private meetings with the family attorney. "The challenge is extremely weak," Naomi told me. "How weak?" "Two independent doctors evaluated Margaret. She met privately with her lawyer. You were not present when she changed the will. Lorraine has emotion but almost no evidence." "So we'll win." "I believe we will." "And then she has to stop." Naomi hesitated. "The legal challenge will stop. But Lorraine won't." "No." That was when I finally understood the truth. Even after winning in court, I would lose every day I remained inside that house. Lorraine would continue sending relatives. She would report imaginary violations to the city. She would watch the gates. She would tell everyone I was living inside something that belonged to her. As long as I owned Blackwood Estate, Lorraine would use it as a doorway into my life. Naomi watched me carefully. "What are you thinking?" I thought keeping the house meant protecting Margaret's decision. "It does." But Margaret never asked me to protect the building. I removed her letter from my bag. "Keep it, change it, or sell it. Do whatever allows you to live in peace." What exactly does Lorraine receive under the will? Only what is listed. No ownership in the estate. No legal right to live there. No approval over what I decide to do. Naomi leaned forward. "No. What happens if I sell it?" A slow understanding crossed her face. "Once Lorraine's challenge is dismissed, you have every legal right to sell. And she receives nothing from the sale." "Nothing." For the first time in months, I felt completely calm. Lorraine wanted the estate because it represented control. She wanted to stand beneath the chandelier and call herself the matriarch. She wanted relatives to request permission before using the house. She wanted the gates, portraits, and Blackwood name carved above the entrance. She believed I would eventually become too tired to keep fighting. She was right about one thing. I was tired. But she misunderstood what I was willing to surrender. I did not have to defeat Lorraine inside the house. I could remove the house from the fight entirely. I did not tell Ethan immediately. For several nights I walked through the estate alone. I stood in the library where Margaret arranged her mystery novels by colour. I sat on the porch where we had shared tea. I touched the kitchen counter where she had taught me to make apple cake. The memories were beautiful. But the estate no longer felt like a home. It felt watched. It felt invaded. It felt like a prison Lorraine could enter whenever she wanted to hurt me. One night, Ethan found me sitting on the floor of Margaret's bedroom. The room was dark except for a lamp near the window. "I'm thinking about selling." He remained in the doorway for several seconds. I waited for him to say I couldn't. Instead, he sat beside me. "Do you want to?" "I don't know." "That usually means yes." "Your family will hate me." "Some of them already do." "Your mother will never forgive you." Ethan gave a tired smile. "My mother doesn't forgive people, she waits for them to become obedient." It was the first truly honest thing he had ever said about her. "I don't want to betray Margaret." "You are." "How do you know?" "Because Grandma did not leave you a shrine, she gave you freedom." I started crying. Not because I was sad. Because for the first time since the will meeting, Ethan was standing beside me instead of between me and his mother. He took my hand. "Sell it." "Are you sure?" "No," he admitted, "but I'm sure I don't want to lose you over a house." 6 weeks later, Lorraine's legal challenge was dismissed. The judge found no credible evidence that Margaret lacked mental capacity or that I had influenced her. Lorraine threatened to appeal. Her own lawyer advised her not to. She had already spent thousands of dollars. And the relatives who had encouraged her suddenly became unavailable when she asked them to help pay the legal fees. Lorraine did not realize it yet, but she had lost. Naomi introduced me to a broker who specialized in historic properties. He toured the estate quietly, examining the roof, gardens, library, and ballroom. "This property will attract attention." "I don't want attention." "Family issue." "Family war." He nodded. "We can list it privately." "No public photographs." "Only verified buyers will see it." "No sign before the sale." "None." "Good." For the next month, Lorraine believed I was preparing to live permanently at Blackwood Estate. I allowed her to believe it. She sent messages offering me one final opportunity to transfer the property. I ignored them. She told family members I would eventually come to my senses. I heard that she had already selected the bedroom she planned to occupy. Meanwhile, potential buyers quietly toured the property. A hotel group made an offer. A private family expressed interest. An events company wanted to divide the land. Then the broker called me. "I have another buyer." "Who?" He hesitated. "Victor Hale." I almost rejected the meeting immediately. Everyone in our town knew Victor. 10 years earlier, he had inherited nothing but debt from his father's construction company. He rebuilt the business, bought an abandoned country club, and transformed it into a successful boutique retreat. Lorraine hated him. Publicly, she said he was destroying the town's heritage. Privately, the truth was simpler. Victor refused to be controlled by her. Years earlier, Lorraine had led a committee that tried to block his country club renovation. She claimed the property should remain in the hands of established families. Victor attended one of the hearings and calmly presented evidence showing that Lorraine's committee had allowed several historic buildings owned by her friends to fall into disrepair. His project was approved. Lorraine's objections were rejected. The local newspaper published a photograph of her leaving the hearing with the headline, "Developer wins despite Blackwood opposition. She never forgave him." The conflict became worse at a charity dinner 2 years later. Lorraine had promised a group of wealthy donors that Victor would reserve the main ballroom at his retreat for her annual gala. She had never asked him. When his staff informed her that the date was already booked, Lorraine arrived at his office and demanded that he cancel the other event. Victor refused. Lorraine reminded him who she was. According to Ethan, Victor had answered, "I know exactly who you are. That's why the answer is still no." Lorraine spent the next 2 years insulting him at every opportunity. She called him vulgar. She called him ambitious. She told people he was new money pretending to understand history. Victor never responded publicly. He simply continued succeeding. "What does he want with Blackwood Estate?" I asked the broker. "To restore the main house. And then a boutique hotel, restaurant, wedding venue, and private spa." I imagined Lorraine standing in the ballroom while strangers celebrated weddings beneath the Blackwood chandelier. I imagined guests sleeping in rooms she considered sacred. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt free. Victor toured the estate with an architect. He did not behave like a man searching for something to demolish. He examined the original stonework. He asked about the age of the library shelves. He spent nearly 20 minutes in Margaret's rose garden. "She used to visit my father's hardware shop," he said. I looked at him. "You knew Margaret?" "Not well, but she remembered everyone's name." He smiled slightly. "When I restored the country club, she sent me a handwritten note." "What did it say?" "That old buildings should be allowed to have new lives." I had to look away. That sounded exactly like Margaret. Victor continued, "I know Lorraine believes I hate the Blackwoods." "Do you?" "No, I dislike bullies. Family names have nothing to do with it." He told me he planned to preserve the library, restore the ballroom, and keep the rose garden. "We don't want to erase the property's history," he said. "We want people to experience it." That mattered to me. I did not want revenge badly enough to destroy something Margaret had loved. But I could not deny the justice in Lorraine's private monument becoming a place open to everyone. Victor made an all-cash offer slightly below the highest valuation. In return, he agreed to complete confidentiality and promised to close within 23 days. I accepted. Only Ethan, Naomi, the broker, and I knew. During the sale process, Lorraine sent me another message. "I will be coming to the estate next month. We can discuss which rooms I will use." I stared at the screen. Then, for the first time in weeks, I responded, "You should call before coming." Her answer arrived immediately. "I do not need permission to enter my family home." I did not reply. On the morning of closing, I walked through Blackwood Estate one final time. Most of the furniture had been stored, sold, or included with the property. I kept Margaret's writing desk, her blue chair, a small painting from the library, the hallway clock, and her letter. Everything else could remain behind. I stood beneath the chandelier where Lorraine had declared herself the family matriarch. That was where she had called me an outsider. For months, I had believed I needed to keep the estate to prove I belonged. Now I understood that I did not need the Blackwood name. I did not need the family's approval. And I did not need to own a building to prove that Margaret had loved me. Ethan joined me in the dining room. "Ready?" I looked around one last time. "Yes." We signed the documents that afternoon. The money entered my account. Victor's team changed every lock before sunset. The next morning, Lorraine arrived with her moving truck. The security camera showed her stepping confidently from her car. Her trunk was filled with boxes, suitcases, and framed photographs. She walked toward the front door holding her old key. It did not work. She tried again. Then she walked around the side of the house. Every entrance was locked. One of the movers asked whether they were at the correct property. Lorraine told him to wait. Then she saw the sold sign. That was when she began calling us. When I finally answered, she screamed, "What have you done to my house? It was never your house. You sold it." "Yes, you couldn't have. I owned it." "To whom?" "Victor Hale. That man." "Yes, he will destroy it. He plans to restore it." "And do what with it?" "Turn it into a hotel, restaurant, spa, and wedding venue." Her voice cracked. "You did this to punish me." "No. Do not lie to me. I sold it because you made keeping it unbearable. You stole my family's legacy. Margaret left you exactly what she wanted you to have. She was my mother, and she knew you better than anyone. You manipulated her." The court disagreed. "I am the matriarch of this family." I looked out across the lake. "No, Lorraine." My voice was quiet. "You are a woman standing outside a house she does not own." For several seconds I heard nothing. Then she said, "Ethan will leave you for this." Ethan was sitting across from me. He had heard everything. He held out his hand for the phone. I gave it to him. "Mom." Her voice immediately softened. "Ethan, thank God. Tell her to reverse the sale." "I can't." "You mean you won't?" "Yes," he said, "I won't. She sold your inheritance to our enemy." "It wasn't my inheritance. That man has spent years humiliating this family." "No," Ethan said. "He refused to let you control him." Lorraine became silent. Ethan's hand was shaking, but his voice remained steady. "You broke into our home. You encouraged relatives to harass Rachel. You called her a thief. You tried to destroy Grandma's final wishes because you couldn't control them. I did everything for this family. You did everything to control this family. You are choosing her over me. I am choosing my wife over your abuse." Lorraine hung up. Ethan stared at the phone for several seconds. He looked frightened, then slowly relieved. That conversation did not erase all the damage Lorraine had caused him. But it was the first time he had closed a door she could not force open. Later that evening, Victor sent me a photograph from the estate's security camera. Lorraine stood beside the sold sign. Her car trunk remained open. Her boxes and suitcases were still inside. The moving truck had already left. Behind her, Victor stood near the front steps, speaking with his architect. She had arrived prepared to take possession. Instead, the estate belonged to a stranger she could not command, and every box in her car suddenly looked ridiculous. The sale allowed Ethan and me to buy a smaller home beside a lake, 3 hours away. There were no gates, no ballrooms, no portraits of dead Blackwoods watching us from the walls. There was only sunlight, water, and quiet. Ethan began therapy. I stopped checking the window whenever a car slowed near the house. Some relatives eventually apologized. A few admitted Lorraine had lied to them. Others confessed that they supported her because disagreeing meant becoming her next target. I accepted the apologies that felt sincere. The rest remained unanswered. Lorraine never apologized. A little over a year later, Blackwood Estate reopened as the Blackwood House. Victor preserved Margaret's rose garden. He restored the porch. He kept most of the library unchanged. Near the entrance, he placed a small plaque honoring Margaret's contribution to the community. Ethan and I visited shortly before the official opening. Staff members carried flowers through the hallways. A young couple stood inside the ballroom discussing their wedding. The house felt alive, not trapped inside one woman's obsession with status. Victor met us near the library. "There's something you should see," he said. He led us into the hallway where Margaret's old writing desk stood beneath a window. Above it was a framed copy of the note she had once sent him. Old buildings should be allowed to have new lives. Ethan placed one hand over his mouth. I felt tears gather in my eyes. For months, I had worried that selling the estate would erase Margaret. But Margaret had never been the furniture. She had never been the stone walls. She had never been the family name carved above the gates. She was the woman who taught me that love should never become a debt. She had not left me the estate so I could spend the rest of my life defending it. She had left it so I could choose what came next. Lorraine wanted the house because she believed being the matriarch meant everyone had to obey her. She wanted to inherit authority. She wanted a building that proved she mattered. But authority cannot be inherited from a dead woman. Respect cannot be forced through guilt. And family history does not give someone the right to destroy the living. Lorraine arrived with a moving truck because she believed I would eventually surrender. Instead, she found changed locks, a sold sign, and the one man she hated most holding the keys. I walked away with the money, my marriage, and my peace. Lorraine left with the possessions named in Margaret's will, and not 1 inch of the estate she had tried to seize. What would you have done in my position? Kept the estate, handed it to the family, or sold it before Lorraine could take over? Tell me in the comments. And for more emotional stories about betrayal, family secrets, and hard-earned justice, subscribe to Real Stories of Women and turn on notifications.